How do we inspire ourselves or others to observe mitzvahs? How do we do it? So there are two schools of thought. One school of thought is, gather a group of Jews, sit them down, and convince them how important Judaism is. If you convince them how important Judaism is, they'll become observant, they'll do it. Tell them how important the Torah is, convince them how important Shabbos is, convince them how important kosher is, so they'll do it. The other approach is different. Get a group of Jews together and sit them down and show them how Jewish they are. If they recognize how Jewish they are, then they'll do mitzvahs. If you see how Jewish you are, then Judaism falls into place automatically. So if you feel Jewish, so you want your food to be Jewish, you want your week to look Jewish, you want your door to look Jewish, so you put a mezuzah. But nobody puts a mezuzah because they don't feel Jewish. Do you know anybody who keeps kosher because they don't feel Jewish? If you don't feel Jewish, you don't keep kosher. Why would you? So why should you keep kosher? Because kosher is really important? No, because you're really Jewish. So if you're really Jewish, how come your food isn't? How come your kitchen isn't? And the fact is that when you try to inspire yourself or others by putting Judaism first, it may work, but it's going to be a long, hard battle. Because if you put Judaism first, well, you're going to have to first convince yourself and prove to yourself that God gave the Torah. Because if not, there's nothing more to speak of. After you're convinced that God gave the Torah, now you have to convince yourself that the Torah we have is the same Torah that He gave. Once you convince yourself that that's the case, now you have to convince yourself that the 10 Commandments are still necessary. Then you got to convince yourself that the other commandments are necessary. So if I convince you that kosher is very important, you'll keep kosher. Why would you keep Shabbos? Oh, so I'm going to have to convince you that Shabbos is important. Now you'll keep Shabbos. Then I have to convince you that mikveh is important. Then maybe you'll keep mikveh. By now you've forgotten why kosher is important. Got to start all over again, right? This is a long, torturous road. On the other hand, if you convince yourself that being Jewish is special, that's all you need. Everything else is commentary. The rest falls into place. If I'm really that Jewish, so I'll eat Jewish. So I'll keep Jewish holidays. I'm Jewish. There's a guy back in Minneapolis who's a very, very simple, a very kind of an earthy, simple, practical truck driver. And his wife had started keeping kosher. He corners me one day, and very angrily he says, I'm supposed to start keeping kosher at my age? Give me one good reason, and don't give me no philosophy. So I said, you should keep kosher because non-Jews don't. He said, oh, okay. Can't argue with that. Non-Jews don't keep kosher. Why? Because it's not a non-Jewish thing, it's a Jewish thing. So what are you saying? Why should Jews do Jewish things? He was saying, why should I keep kosher? In other words, tell me how important kosher is. Put Judaism first. My answer to him was, no, don't put Judaism first. Put the Jew first. And then all your questions disappear. Even people who are not at all observant will tell you that just because they don't keep the mitzvahs doesn't mean that they're any less Jewish than the chief rabbi of Israel. And they're right. But it's because of that you should do mitzvahs. That's not a reason not to. That's the best reason to keep the mitzvahs. It's like if a husband says, I don't do the things my wife wants me to do. I'm not very helpful to her. I'm not very considerate of her. But that's okay because she really loves me and will never divorce me. So We are so committed to each other that I don't have to be nice to her. Why? Because we're really committed to each other. Now, technically speaking, he's right. No matter what he does, they're going to stay married because they're really committed to each other. But is that a reason not to be nice? Or is that the best reason to be? If she is so devoted to you and so married to you that you're going to stay married even if you're not nice, that's the best reason to be nice. Why, are you nice only if she's going to divorce you? So if the only thing that inspires you is a threat, Judaism has no threats. It's not keep Shabbos or you're not Jewish. There's no threat. In fact, there's a promise. No matter how bad you get, you're Jewish. Because no matter what you do, you're going to be God's child or God's people. So how can you not behave accordingly?